Tell me I'm not alone here. When I first started getting into Berserk, my initial impressions that Femto or Griffith was a chick. Wait a minute, Mr. X, you're saying that's not a chick? Today we are adding my 4th addition to my Berserk line. That's right, this is Femto, made by Prime 1 Studios. This is a 1/4 scale statue of Femto or Griffith, the Falcon of Light, the leader of the Band of Hawk. He has so many different names because he goes through a lot of crap. That's right, a little bit of history for you guys. I started looking at these Berserk statues by Prime 1 Studios, and look at them, they just look really cool. And I ended up buying their Guts Bloody version a couple years ago. This one right here was a Prime 1 Studio exclusive. They only made like 150 of these. And then I ended up wanting to buy another one, their armored version, which I've actually reviewed right here. And this actually got me into watching some of the Netflix movies, from which I hear are the worst of it all. And then I started reading the books. I'm actually on volume 4 right now, either volume 3 or volume 4, I can't remember. And I really started liking not only the characters, but the storyline as well. Well, that got me to buy more of these statues. I ended up getting their Zod, this piece right here. And Femto here just arrived, and I have about 5 more on order. I'm making a huge display actually right back there of just Berserk. Now, while I haven't got to this part of the story in the books, I have seen it in the Netflix movies. So essentially, Femto, formerly Griffith, and then I don't know what the word after that would be, becomes Griffith again, is a very power-hungry warrior that has fought all of his life, and he really wants power, and he kind of takes the evil shortcut. He falls into temptation, and he becomes the God Hand, or kind of a 5th evil god, and that's what this version of him is, actually, in Femto. He becomes really evil, does some really horrible stuff. And again, forgive my knowledge, because like I said, I haven't got to that part in the book. I've just seen it on the movie. But overall, I buy statues because I like them. And look at this one. It's a beauty. I really actually like it. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to dive into a detailed review of this Berserk piece. And some of you might be thinking, that's not beauty, that's gross. I bet you this would definitely make Mrs. X's top 10 list of statues she hated, as seen in this video right here. But let's start with him and let's look at the concept of this piece, which is what I really like about this piece, because it not only follows the line, but it's a little bit unique. All the other ones I have just have dead corpses and bodies and creatures at the bottom, where this one is kind of starting a little bit different, and all the God Hand pieces will actually follow this. On the bottom they have this museum-style base with some writing on the side of it. Coincidentally, this is the first statue I have that doesn't have a big brand of sacrifice symbol. But moving up, he's actually inside the Berserk, or whatever the hell it's called. I can't pronounce it, I can just read it. And this is where he kind of emerged from. This is where his power came from, his transformation came from. And you see what is assumably lost souls or whatever it is that he's either defeated or that gives him his power. And it's pretty gross, to be honest with you. Moving up in a museum-style pose, they're all in a museum-style pose, kind of looking for a picture, kind of reaching out and taunting. You know, Griffith was very confident, and I think this captures a lot. And this kind of transformed him into this bird-like creature. Again, I don't know the details if that's just the outfit or if that's really what he became. And as you move to the top, you see the classic Griffith. And this is, or Femto, I should say, but this is why I always assumed that Femto or Griffith was a female before I knew anything about the statues or the comics. Very feminine features. And you'll see that in the other statues. You'll see that in the books. You'll see that in the movies. But just very different. I like this piece because it's a lot more conceptually. While clearly it shows the character, it shows him, you know, essentially being born or hatching out of this outer shell, which has a ton of cool stuff going on as well. I like the fact that this goes with the rest of the line with the sub base, and then also it goes with the rest of the God Hand, the other gods, which I'm not getting all those as well, with all this disgusting souls and heads and blood. So very cool. I think it's going to look fantastic in the collection. I think the concept's a 4 out of 5. It's really different, really unique, and I think that if I knew the source material better, which I will soon enough when I have time to actually read it, I'd appreciate it even more. Now let's go into design. Now what you see is what you get. So they made 2 different versions of this, a regular, which is what I have, and an exclusive. The exclusive did have a separate proximity piece. Check this out right here. So kind of the egg that he always carried on the neck. This is kind of symbolizing what he's actually hatching out of, but no other switch outs. So let's look at the assembly of the piece. Here is the brown shipper that it came in, a little beat up, but thankfully nothing broken. Standard Prime 1 Studios white foam with 2 different layers. The first layer had the classic wax paper on top, and most of it was the sides of the base and a few pieces of Femto. And then the second layer had the cape, the body, and the base. All right, so everything fit really well, as you saw, very simple to do. The widest point is probably about 22 inches or so. The diameter of the base is about 15, so it's this, the egg kind of coming out. I know I keep calling it an egg, I know it's not that. And the height is right under 27 inches. And the depth is a little bit, about 16 inches or so. I like the fact this isn't a space hog as much as the other pieces, but it's not going to be too small next to them. If you want to see what it looks like next to the other pieces, check out the Extreme Channel Facebook page or Instagram. The link is actually in the description below. So the packaging was great. Everything fits together really well, no seam lines. It's not a very complex statue, but it's not simple either. I think the design's a 5 out of 5. I mean, it's exactly what I want. I can't find any flaws with it. I'm assuming the rest of the God Hand's not going to have that brand of sacrifice, which I'm not a huge fan of. Anytime you have like the Prime 1 Studios Transformers that have the Decepticon or Autobot plate that goes in the front, I hate that. I don't like the brand of sacrifice with the other three that I have. Now let's look at paint and sculpt, and just kind of a spoiler, they knocked this out of the park, and one of the reasons why I kind of like gross and bloody. So if that's not your cup of tea, you won't agree with me, but let's check it out. So kind of a spoiler on this, whether you like this type of stuff or not, it's actually really good. So the bottom, very similar to the rest of them. Like I said, they have that writing. It's obviously a language that was in the books. And let's look at the outside of what I call the egg here, because it's easier for me to pronounce. So it does have a face, which kind of makes it look creepy. Looks like it's actually crying blood. But look at the eye, look at the detail on that. The paint job, the sculpt looks really clean. The jagged teeth down here. At first, especially when I didn't understand the Berserk tail at all, this looked kind of stupid, but I think it looks phenomenal now, and especially from an execution standpoint. It has this blood-like veins running through it, this texture on the outside, broken like an egg, and the outside to me is actually the weakest part, even though it looks phenomenal. You see some blood pooling on the bottom. Then this part, I love this part. I love how bloody it is. Like I said, these could be souls or enemies he's defeated or whatever gives him his power. This looks truly like the inside of someone's body, the dark red blood pooling around it. And then here, like the inside of the mouth is what this looks like. You see the blue veins running through, kind of that gum-like texture. This looks so cool, so gross. Yeah, this would definitely be one of Mrs. X's most hated statues. As I said with Femto, you have this bird-like appearance, not only with his feet here at the bottom, but as you move up, I don't know if this is part of him or part of his suit. But great anatomy, and I like this gloss that's on top of this purple-blue color with this black shading. You have kind of these segmented pieces on his torso here. Very scary. You know, the hands, the portrait really go with that bird-like effect. You see, like I said, he looks female. He has the makeup on, the lipstick, but it looks good. I like the pale color they used on him, on his skin tone. Very bird-like. This cape on the back looks great too. Again, looks like almost bones of a wing that flow through it here. Really impressed. Even some micro detail. There's not really a textured pattern, but there is some texture on his suit. The inside of the cape, you really can't see too much going on. I was really surprised there weren't any breakages, very surprised and thankful. But really digging every part of this piece. They did a phenomenal job on the paint and the sculpt. Crazy detail. You know, what's really great about these pieces is it's bringing a black and white book into a 3D visual, real life. And I absolutely love that, and not only doing it, but it just looks phenomenal. I'm a big fan of both the paint and sculpt on this. I'm really impressed. I'm so glad that I got Femto. I wasn't really planning to, but since I wanted the rest of the God Hand, I thought I'd just round it out. And it seems like, we'll talk about in value, it's a good purchase for these Berserk pieces. People are really seeking after them. But paint and sculpt, I'm actually going to rate them together. Usually they may be separate, but I think coincidentally, I think they're a 5 out of 5. I think they did a great job bringing that 2D picture to life and then putting in that micro detail, and it just looks awesome. The texture, the paint we talked about, 5 out of 5 for both of those. Now in value, they made 850 of these, 500 of the regular version, then 350 are the exclusive I talked about. They retailed right around 1,000. Shipping, for me, it was only 60 bucks because I bought through a third-party distributor. And these Berserk pieces, you know, especially with an edition size under 1,000, seem to be holding their value and flipping for quite a bit more. I think the rest that I have always seem to go for more. People are always looking for them. So I think the value is a 4 out of 5, especially on this piece, because this one I think you could ship again without any shipping worries, where some of the other ones there were things I talked about in the reviews. So is this a 5 out of 5 statue? You know, if I was a diehard Berserk fan, I think I would instantly say yes, that this has the X factor. It's a 5 out of 5 statue. I was never a fan of Griffith. I mean, I liked, you know, he was pretty badass. He's ambitious. I can relate to that. The fact that he turned into this crazy evil person. I actually think from a look standpoint, Femto is one of the least cool looking gods, but I think that's what I call them, gods, evil gods, whatever the God Hand is. But I think they made it look really cool with this base. It's at least a 4 out of 5, so I wouldn't quite call this a grail, but maybe a rail, a statue people would really want. I'm very happy with this. I can't wait to put it over there in the collection. If you like stuff like this, check out some of these other Prime 1 Studio statue reviews, or hit that Mr. X logo and that bell notification to make sure to subscribe. I drop stuff daily, and you will never miss some of this awesome stuff like this. Thanks for watching, guys. Until tomorrow, take care.